Welcome back, Coastal Bend. I'm meteorologist Carly Smith. We have all of the widespread rain now set up across the Coastal Bend. Freer, it's going to make it. It's getting there. But we have a flood warning that is in place across much of Nueces County, San Patricio County, and Aransas County, but some heavy rain also moving in just north of Rockport. In fact, there is a marine warning there with the possibility of water spouts. In fact, you can kind of see the curl right here. That could be potentially where one tries to form. So also still some lightning with some heavy convection setting up off to in the Gulf of Mexico, and that's all still moving onshore. So this flash flood warning is until 1:30, and this is the region where we're still seeing the heavy rain. Corpus Christi, it's getting a little bit lighter, but we're seeing the rainfall pick up as it crosses over the barrier islands and then moves into the bay once again. These flood warnings are across our rivers and creeks in anticipation of all the rainfall we are expecting still here in the Coastal Bend. So when it comes to that flood warning, this is just over the last 3 hours. Rainfall did fall over 2 inches in the Gulf, and we're getting those rainfall reports, especially across portions of San Patricio County and Aransas County with that much rainfall. Now, I still expect it to be fairly widespread through about 3, 4, 5 p.m. and then that coverage is going to taper down into the evening and overnight. We're going to stay mostly scattered heading into our Thursday. So we're not totally done with the rain, but it's going to start to become, we'll get more dry spots, right? It's going to be more of that spotty activity that we're used to. But overall, it does look like we're going to be approaching rainfall totals around 5 inches potentially as this continues to move out. 3 to 5 inches of rainfall is a good estimate across the Coastal Bend. Right now, this is the view of North Beach, where the water is still covering up the beach. You can't even see any sand, and the water, you can tell, already flooded many of those parking lots across that area. This is the storm surge, essentially, and so coastal flood warning is in place across the region for those impacts that we're seeing at North Beach. Last I checked at the USS Lexington, that tide height was above 3 feet. High tide is expected at 1 p.m. Baffin Bay, 1 foot there. You're not getting as much of the impacts because of the positioning of the bay. So we're having more kind of east-northeast winds, and the shape of that bay kind of limits that surge potential. But Rockport is seeing 2.77 feet above normal tide. Aransas Pass and Port Aransas both up to 4 feet above that normal tide. And our original forecast was 1 to 3 feet of that surge, right? So this is all because of that fetch where the waves are developing across the Gulf. We're seeing our peak wave heights now and then weakening trend across the Gulf of Mexico as this storm is now moving to the west. And that setup happens once again because of the high that's to our north. That's what's really creating those 30 to 40 mile per hour winds, increasing our tropical moisture, bringing us the rainfall. But those 30 to 40 mile per hour wind gusts showing up at our buoys now. We're getting 38 mile per hour reading just off the coast there it looks like Matagorda Bay, 27 miles per hour off our coast closer to Corpus Christi Bay. And all of that wind is pushing the water toward the coastline, which is creating that flooding that we're seeing at places like North Beach, Padre Island, even toward Rockport and Aransas Pass. So our wind gusts right now, Corpus Christi now reading a 37 mile per hour wind gust. So that is just below tropical storm force gusts. Technically, to be tropical storm winds, it has to be sustained, which we're at 24 miles per hour right now. Off the coast, we are getting a 38 mile per hour reading at some of the buoys out that direction. Sustained wind, almost tropical storm force, 39 miles per hour is that. And right there at one of the buoys offshore, well offshore into the central Gulf, is nearing that 40 mile per hour reading. So we could still get 30 to 40 mile per hour winds, especially as we head into this afternoon. So this morning we've kept the winds not quite as strong as maybe some of you were anticipating, but they're still expected to pick up as that westward movement takes place. So 10 a.m. was the last update from the National Hurricane Center for, yes, it does have a name now, Tropical Storm Alberto. 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts. Everything has basically stayed the same, except for the fact that it's a little bit more organized now around the center. But we're still getting all of that moisture here. You see new convection popping up as well behind that that's going to move in. So yeah, we're not done with the rain. Alberto is still making landfall near into Mexico. That's going to be overnight and into early Thursday morning. Our waves, this is something interesting, are going to pick up even into Thursday, and then they start to weaken Thursday afternoon. But watch what happens in the Gulf. We don't lose that kind of swell popping up, right? This is going to be that potential for another 30% chance of development once again in the Bay of Campeche. That's going to be something we'll be watching, that development possible, it looks like, over the weekend and into early next week. Now, the latest forecast guidance, this is all of our rainfall from Alberto, right? So that's continuing through about 4 p.m. It becomes a bit more scattered heading into this afternoon or late this evening. We still get some feeder bands that try to set up. This latest model putting more of those closer to Brownsville, but still we have one right there through there from kind of Baffin Bay and then to the north toward the watershed early Thursday morning. As that moves into Mexico, it weakens. Then watch what happens to the south. We start to see another kind of low center up, but the difference between this low and the one we've just experienced is that high pressure to the north is now shifting over the Atlantic, so we don't have that really strong gradient that's helping bring all the tropical moisture to South Texas and increase our wind speeds and our surge. So in your 7-day forecast, it does look like we still keep some rain chances even into the weekend. If we see some rain from that next potential system, Monday and Tuesday could be when we see some of those showers. But overall today, again, our heaviest day of rainfall. Mike.
All right, thank you, Carly. And of course, the concern is always when you get any kind of rain like this is